Now, ironically, a lot of people who are about to have a baby find that the most important time to find a new home. They're looking for a new nest, and baby brain is real. It exists. I've had it a few times. You've had it, and you're not always in the best decision-making frame of mind. So if you are getting close to having a baby, you can often feel like the pressure of the time limit that's coming to you, or being enforced upon you by the impending arrival of said child, that may force you to make a decision that isn't the best in the long term. So be really, really careful about anything. If you're in a situation where you know there's a deadline pending, don't make the decision to buy based on the deadline that's given to you. Make sure you go back to step one and go through all the decision-making process that you need to make with a clear head, and remove the deadline from the equation and see if it is still the right thing to do to buy a property.
There's a couple of things that I have observed people doing here, in particularly on this topic, right? One is when we go to an auction and we see a heavily pregnant woman, and typically a guy, although they could be a same-sex couple, but typically there's a huge amount of pressure, and I think to myself, oh, bugger. They are driven by
they're just
more
going to
FOMO.
buy this no matter what. They're going to pay what they have to.
Yeah, they have way more FOMO than most people because they've got this really, really definite deadline. But the other thing too is that they another thing that I find a lot of couples, early on in a pregnancy, I've heard this quite a lot. It's like, we have to buy now because we have to buy before the bank knows we're pregnant. Because we won't be able to borrow as much money when I'm on maternity leave. And it's like, whoa, that's another massive warning sign. It's like, that's fine if you find the right property, right? But it will lead you to make all sorts of compromises and panic decisions. So that's a sign. You might think you're more than ready to buy, but it could be a sign you're really not ready to buy.
I guess the other side of that, Veronica, is too, you have to be very realistic about how affordable it is to go down to one income if that's the case, if there is an impending pregnancy and child arrival and someone's going to take, there might be some paid paternity and maternity leave, but there might not be. It might be that you want to stay home for a lot longer period than just the paid period. So there's a lot of decisions that aren't just about having a good nest to bring the baby home to. It's actually how much financial pressure are you going to put on yourself if you find that you actually want to stay home for 2 years rather than the 6 months that you had anticipated. Does that put you in a situation where you can't do the parenting the way that you want to do it, and forces you into going back to work earlier than you had anticipated? So you've got to be really realistic about that kind of scenario where there is a deadline that or a change in your income circumstances because of a pregnancy.
So true.